So Tap Music, the music management company that picks our Eurovision contest act every year, has 4 criteria for the artist. Well, you might think one of those criterion might be a love for this country. Now, I don't understand how anyone going to represent Britain on the international stage at Eurovision could tweet something even 2 years ago about how they hate this country. Now, May argues that it's been taken out of context. She tweeted, "I hate Britain." I don't know what other context you need, to be honest. Now, I'm all for free speech, but I think it's important that if you're going to represent Britain on the international stage, that you believe in this country. So, May, I wish you well this evening, but watch your mouth when you're not singing a song. So, why is it that it's so acceptable for people to say they hate Britain? Why is it almost cool for people in our generation to say they hate Britain?
Well, I think that's a really good point, because, I mean, it's not just Britain she hates. She also hates Boris Johnson, so much so that she said he was taking up a bed in intensive care. She also said he doesn't have her sympathy. And then, actually, she tweeted her support for Jeremy Corbyn, which is somewhat ironic, because he, that pacifist pygmy, wouldn't be supporting Ukraine if he was Prime Minister. I'll tell you that for free. And, of course, Eurovision tonight is all about Ukraine. But I think the reason a young generation hate this country is because it starts in schools, right? It starts in our schools. It starts with your Mayor Sadiq Khan in that clip I was talking about earlier in All My Wisdom. And actually, I think that's what's responsible for all of this. That and the fact that she lives in Islington.
Yeah, can you imagine if she'd tweeted something about how much she loved the Tory party, or about how much she loved Boris Johnson?
They wouldn't
or how
choose
much
her.
She hated her. There's no way she'd be representing Britain at Eurovision.
No.
There's absolutely no way whatsoever.
I mean, I think that's conspiratorial nonsense. Frankly, if she said she loved the Tory party and Boris Johnson, she'd probably be on this panel. You know, the truth is that this is a freedom of speech issue, and you said, I care for freedom of speech, but... Right? That ain't how it works, mate, OK? She has a right to say that. And the truth is...
Hang on, you say freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences or whatever rubbish.
Yeah, I do, but this is just a silly tweet from someone who was young. This is archaeology of people's social media.
Benjamin.
Get over it.
Benjamin. She's a 25-year-old woman. She's around a similar age to us. This was 2 years ago, so she was 23. She tweeted, "I hate Britain." I don't understand what would make someone tweet that unless that's what they actually felt.
So you
at the time.
think that if a 23-year-old tweets that they don't like the country because of the state it's in, they should be barred from their dream job?
I didn't say she should be
Exactly
barred.
what you said.
I didn't say she
He wished her well.
should be barred.
He wished her well.
I said she shouldn't
I
represent
wished
us.
her well, but I think that people who are representing us on the international stage should have a love for this country. Why is that a controversial thing?
I guess the issue is, how far would you go with this? So you can't represent Britain in the 100 metres if you said you hate the country.
You
can't sing for Britain.
The 100
you can't
metres
dance for Britain.
100 metres isn't a popularity contest. Okay?
No,
it's not. And I get that, as I understand it, as an avid non-watcher of the Eurovision Song Contest, I'm not sure, I don't think we get to vote on it, do we? I think it's other
Not on your own.
No, right. So it doesn't really matter. But she will want to be popular in Britain. She will want to make, presumably, millions off the back of British support, and a load of British people who do love this country, I think, would quite like an act on there who actually at least reciprocates when it comes to that. Although I shouldn't be too shocked, because there are some rumours, and they aren't just rumours, but there are some rumours that one Keir Starmer is going to be watching Eurovision tonight in the same pub with Mae Muller's family. So there you go. You can't have Zelensky, but apparently you might be able to have Keir Starmer.
But, Emily, don't you think that comments like this and the whole kind of politicisation of things like Eurovision, whether or not it's Keir Starmer, whether or not it's Zelensky, kind of takes away from the fun of Eurovision? If she hadn't have said that she hated Britain, we'd all be saying, good luck, May, we think the song is brilliant, we hope you win.
I mean, I just find it utterly depressing, really, that so many young people in their 20s and younger and 30s even seem to think it's, you know, cool to say, I hate the country where I've had practically every privilege afforded to me. If I lived in another country, I would not have the freedoms and the potential
she's not got that
that we have in this country. I think we all need to recognise how lucky we are to have been born in this country and to be living in this country. You really can have success, and you really can live a safe and secure life in this country,
I don't
by
think
and
you should
large.
have-
And I think people should just have a look at themselves and stop
Yeah.
watching TikToks about how awful this country is and stop Instagramming about how terrible absolutely everything is and actually realise you're pretty lucky.
Well, that's Benjamin's column for the week.
I don't think you should have a patriotism litmus test in order to get a job, right? That's
No, I'm
not a
just
good
talking
way for
about
this
the
country to
wider
work.
societal
We're not
trend.
America. That's not how we do things, right? And you say, why do young people not like this country? Well, when they've had the right to live in countries across the EU taken from them, when they've had, if you're my age, in fact, all of our ages, you've had 2 recessions in your adult life, OK? When you've had flatlining pay from your job so you can't afford to live, when you've got sky-high rents, when you can't buy a house because nobody's building
We're
anything
still
right now,
passing around
Benjamin,
right? They're
Benjamin.
entitled to be angry at
You
where
were,
this
you were
country is.
talking about your grandparents earlier on and older people. You know, when our grandparents were growing up in the 40s and 50s, in the post-war period, do you not think they had more to be upset about than we do currently? And they would never have said, I hate this country, because they were living in a house which was falling down and bomb debris everywhere.
Well, you know, your measure of Britain doing well might be literally being at war. Maybe that's the only comparison that this Tory government could say they had a worse time than what we've had in the last 13 years. But frankly, I think it is patriotic to criticise your country when it's wrong, to say it's not doing a good enough job
To
for
hate
young
it, though?
people. Well, if she wants to say that, she can say it. I don't hate this country, but I think there's a lot of problems, and people are entitled to call those
But
problems
she even
out.
said in an interview in The Times more recently that her comment was not ideal. So there seems to be some exceptions even from May, Darren, that actually what she said was wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, an acknowledgement because of the pressure around it, right? Because actually this became a story, a national story, and she was shamed into saying, I actually regret what I said. And I think she should, actually, because I think saying someone doesn't deserve a bed in intensive care is disgusting. But anyway, good luck to her, I guess.